Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pods. I am Leonardo.
Whoa! Good morning, students. And I'm Elizabeth.
Today, we are diving into something a little different, like really different.
Different good or different,
Oh, definitely different good. Today, we are exploring an essential topic for anyone looking to excel in English.
All right, so you know how we're always talking about setting goals? Well, today we're really gonna dive deep into that. We've got this awesome guide called How to Set Goals in Life.
Okay.
And it's really all about going beyond the basics, yeah, goals are important, but how do we actually make them happen? How do we get from just kind of dreaming about stuff to really seeing results?
It's definitely more than just making a wish list.
Right. So this guide really breaks down the whole process, all the steps, and even, how to handle when things don't exactly go according to plan.
Exactly, and how to figure out why we even set goals in the first place, you know?
Totally.
What's the point?
And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck, right? We have these big dreams, but then it's how do we translate that into actual action?
You got it.
And this guide really dives into that with the whole concept of SMART goals.
Which I have to say, sometimes it sounds super corporate-y,
right.
jargony.
Yeah.
But the idea behind it, I think, is super helpful.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's taking something vague, I want to be rich or whatever.
Right.
And then turning it into something that you can actually do something about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But it's more than just a checklist, right?
For sure.
What makes each part of that so important?
Well, I think each part is it's kind of like a puzzle piece, You've got to put all these pieces together, and it's all about making a goal that you actually feel like you can get to, not just something that sounds good.
So it's I want to be healthier is not a goal that's just a wish, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's I want to run a 5K, and I'm going to do that by training 3 times a week, and I'm going to do it in 3 months.
Oh, okay.
You see how that's different?
Yeah, that is totally different.
Yeah.
It's way more specific. You can actually picture it. Okay, so the S, specific, that's step 1. You got to be clear about what you're actually aiming for.
Yeah.
No more fuzzy, daydream.
Exactly.
Measurable. I guess that's how we actually see if we're making progress.
Yeah, and it's not even just about tracking your progress. It's about I don't know.
Yeah.
It's motivating, when you see that you're
getting somewhere.
Yeah, you're oh wow, I'm actually doing this thing.
Yeah.
And it it keeps you going.
So it's not just about feeling good about it. It's you're seeing
the results.
It's concrete results, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so A, achievable. This is where I think I personally struggle the most because I tend to have these big visions, but then I get overwhelmed because it feels so out of reach,
I think setting achievable goals is so tricky.
It is.
Because sometimes we underestimate what we can do in a week or a month.
Oh, yeah.
But then other times we set these huge goals for
Right, and then you're well, I'm never going to get there.
And then you feel terrible.
Exactly.
And this guide, it really talks about being honest about what you have right now. What are your resources? What can you actually do? Your time, your energy, your money.
So it's not about limiting ourselves. It's being realistic.
Totally. Yeah. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Okay.
Where it's challenging, but also you feel okay, I can actually do this thing.
All right. So that makes sense. What about R, relevant? Why is that so important when we're setting goals?
I think this goes back to knowing yourself and knowing what you actually care about, you know? Because it's easy to get caught up in what we think we should be doing.
Oh, totally.
Or what other people think is important.
Yeah.
But if your goals don't actually resonate with your core values, you're gonna feel lost. Your goal is to, I don't know, become a famous actor or something.
Yeah.
But deep down, you really value stability and routine.
Yeah, you want to look like 9 to 5.
Those goals are going to be fighting each other.
Right.
And you're probably not going to feel very good about it.
It's not going to work. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So it's really about aligning those goals with the kind of life you actually want to live. It's not just what looks good, on paper or on Instagram or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so T. time-bound. This is where we're talking deadlines, right?
Yep, deadlines, baby.
Okay. But it's not about, like, stressing ourselves out.
No, no, no.
It's more about...
It's about...
Yeah.
I don't know. Think about it this way.
Yeah.
How productive do you get right before you go on vacation?
Oh, super productive.
Right.
The last minute.
It's like our brains work better when we know we have a limited time.
Oh, it's so true.
So it's kind of like tricking our brains to get things done.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not about, like, adding pressure. It's about giving yourself a time frame.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about creating that sense of urgency.
Okay, I like that. So it's not, I want to write a book. It's, I want to write the first draft of my book in the next 6 months.
Exactly. Exactly. It gives you that clear end point.
Yeah.
And it helps you to, like, break it down into smaller steps.
So you're not just, like, facing this huge mountain.
Right. It's not just this big blob of write a book.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this month I'm going to write chapter 1.
I like that. Okay. So we've got our SMART goals. We're feeling good. We're motivated.
We're ready.
But then the guide goes on to talk about, like, short-term versus long-term goals. And it's kind of like, how do these two...
Yeah, how do they all fit together?
Yeah, how do they all fit together? Because sometimes, I know for me, I get so caught up in just, like, the day-to-day stuff that I lose sight of that bigger vision, you know?
It's like building a house.
Yeah.
You need both the bricks and the blueprint.
Oh, I like that analogy.
You know?
So how do these two types of goals, short-term and long-term, how do they work together?
Well, think of it like, you know, you've got your long-term goal. That's your destination. Your short-term goals, those are like the steps.
Oh, the little stepping stones.
Yeah, like let's say your long-term goal is to, like, I don't know, start your own business.
Okay.
A short-term goal might be, okay, I'm going to take a coding class.
Oh, okay. So that's like a specific step that gets you closer.
That gets you closer to that
big, ultimate.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I like that. So each little win, it's like it keeps you motivated to keep going.
Totally.
I like that. But what happens when, you know, because life never goes according to plan.
Of course not.
Right.
Never.
What happens when those inevitable curveballs come our way?
Well, I think that's where this guide's focus on flexibility is, like, super important.
Okay.
It's like, you know, we have to remember that our goals aren't, like, set in stone.
Right. They can change.
They can change.
Yeah.
We can adjust them. We can even let go of them if they're not working anymore.
So it's not about being rigid. It's about being willing to kind of course correct as we go.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, but how do we make sure we actually, like, stick to our goals? I think that's where a lot of us, me included, we struggle, you know. We have the best intentions.
Yeah, all the good ideas in the world.
But then life happens and things get in the way.
Right, right.
So how do we actually make those goals happen?
Well, this guide is all about action plans.
Oh.
Think of it like your roadmap for reaching your goal. It's about breaking those big, scary goals down into smaller, more manageable steps.
So it's about making it less overwhelming by
Exactly.
focusing on those bite-sized pieces.
Totally, yeah. So, like, let's say your goal is to save up for a down payment on a house.
Okay.
Your action plan might involve, like, setting up automatic transfers to your savings account every month. Or maybe cutting back on some unnecessary expenses.
Okay.
Or even, like, picking up a side hustle.
Right, to bring in a little extra cash.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're, like, chipping away at it.
Yeah, I like that, chipping away at it.
Little by little.
Little by little.
Yeah.
So deadlines, are those important in an action plan?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Deadlines are, like, they give you that little push, you know?
Yeah, that sense of urgency.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's like you're giving those mini goals within your action plan
Okay.
their own mini deadlines.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So you're not just like, oh, I'll get to that eventually.
Right.
It's like, okay, I have to do this by Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. This is making so much sense. It's all starting to click together.
I'm glad.
But let's be real. Like, we all hit those moments where the motivation dips.
Oh, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know? Like, we're excited, we're gung-ho, and then it's like, ugh, this is hard. I don't want to do it anymore.
It happens to the best of us.
So, how do we stay pumped? Especially when the progress feels slow.
Well, this guide talks a lot about tracking your progress.
Okay.
And it's not just about, like, checking things off a list.
Right.
It's about, like, celebrating how far you've come.
Oh, okay.
You know? It's about acknowledging those wins, big and small.
Yeah.
because that keeps you motivated.
Yeah, it's like a little, pat on the back.
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
hey, I'm doing this.
It's like, I'm actually doing this thing. This is awesome.
Okay, so how do we track progress? Is it like a to-do list or is it something more visual?
I think it's whatever works for you.
Okay.
Some people love apps, habit tracker apps. Some people like to go old school, like a bullet journal.
Yeah, I love my bullet journal.
Yeah, me too.
Or even a spreadsheet, like, for data nerds like me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so find what works for you and make it fun.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you have like a visual representation of your journey.
Oh, I like that.
Like a map where you mark each milestone.
That's a cool idea. Yeah, I like that.
Whatever helps you visualize your progress and gives you those little bursts of accomplishment along the way.
So it's not about beating ourselves up for the things we haven't done yet.
No.
It's about celebrating how far we've come.
Exactly.
I love that perspective.
Because remember, the journey itself is part of the reward. It's about like the skills you're developing, the things you're learning, the person you're becoming.
It's about the growth.
Totally. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It really is all about that journey.
And I think sometimes we forget that we get so focused on the destination. Yeah.
Right, like that finish line.
Exactly.
That we don't even enjoy the journey.
And sometimes those little detours along the way, they end up being the best part,
Totally. Yeah.
But I think a big takeaway from all this is that goal setting, it's not just about checking things off a list.
Yeah.
It's really about growth, figuring out who you are and creating a life that feels good,
Absolutely. And it's not a one-time thing either.
Right. It's an ongoing process.
Totally. We change, our goals change, what we want changes.
Exactly.
Our goals have to change too.
So it's not about being super rigid. It's about being flexible and being willing to maybe adjust our goals or even
let go of some.
Let go of some if they don't make sense anymore.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense. So this guide also talks about setting goals in different areas of life.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because it's if we only focus on work, for example, we might forget about our relationships or our health or just having fun,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's think of your life as a garden.
Okay.
You wouldn't just plant one type of flower.
Oh, right.
You'd want all kinds of different
variety,
colors, textures, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I like that analogy. So we're tending to our little life garden.
Yes.
By setting goals in different areas.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we've got, personal growth, our careers, our health, our relationships.
Finances, social impact even.
Oh, yeah. Social impact. So it's thinking beyond ourselves, how we can contribute to something bigger.
Exactly. Like volunteering or supporting a cause.
Okay. I like that. But with so many potential goals, how do we actually stay focused?
Yeah.
It's easy to get sidetracked,
Oh, for sure.
Especially when life gets busy.
Especially then.
So how do we actually make sure we're staying on track and making progress towards those goals?
Well, I think this guide is really big on accountability.
Okay.
So one thing they suggest is sharing your goals with someone you trust.
Okay.
Could be a friend, a mentor.
Yeah.
A family member.
Okay, so somebody who can help you stay accountable.
Exactly.
Okay, and I've noticed that for me, when I tell someone about a goal, it suddenly feels more real.
It does.
It's I've made a commitment, not just to myself,
right,
but to them too.
It's you're putting it out there.
Exactly.
In the universe.
And that extra layer of motivation, I think can be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And, this guide also talks about joining a group with people who have similar goals.
Yeah, a community.
Exactly.
Okay, so you can support each other.
Yeah, you can learn from each other.
Celebrate each other's wins.
Totally.
Okay.
It's that feeling of camaraderie can be super motivating.
Yeah, having a team, cheering you on.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. But what about when we hit those roadblocks? Because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Right. We're not always going to be full steam ahead.
Of course not. There's going to be bumps in the road.
Exactly. So how do we handle those moments when we're feeling discouraged or we want to give up?
Well, I think the first thing is to remember that setbacks, they're normal.
Okay.
They're part of the process.
It's not about avoiding them.
Yeah.
It's about how we deal with them.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this guide really emphasizes reframing those quote unquote failures as learning opportunities.
Okay.
So instead of beating yourself up,
Right.
You're like, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?
So it's about shifting our perspective
Totally.
and seeing those setbacks as like,
Yeah, as like stepping stones on your path.
okay, I like that. And sometimes I think it's just helpful to remind ourselves, like, why did we set this goal in the first place?
Yes.
You know?
Go back to that, like, initial spark
Yeah.
that got you excited about this goal.
That motivation.
Yeah, that motivation. And, visualization can be really powerful here, too.
Oh, okay, like actually picturing ourselves
Yeah.
achieving the goal.
Yeah, like really feeling it.
Okay.
Like, what would it feel like to achieve this goal?
Okay.
And, like, kind of rehearse it in your mind.
So it's almost like a little mental trick
Totally.
to keep us motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. This is all making so much sense. Like, it's really coming together.
I'm so glad.
It's not just about, like, setting a goal.
Mhm.
It's about having a whole system, like a mindset and
Yeah.
support and, all these things that help us actually achieve those goals.
I got it.
I love that. And this guide really does a great job of, like, breaking it all down
Mhm.
into those actionable steps.
Yeah. It gives you the tools
Yeah.
to make it happen.
I love that. And ultimately, it's not just about the destination.
Right.
It's about enjoying the journey, right?
Totally. The ups, the downs, the whole thing.
It's about who we become along the way.
Couldn't agree more.
I love that perspective. And I think that's a perfect segue into the last part of this guide,
Oh, yeah.
which talks about, like, really embracing the journey, not just focusing on the destination.
Love it.
It's so easy to get caught up in, like, reaching that finish line
Oh, tell me about it.
that we kind of miss out on, the actual journey itself.
Like, we're so busy looking ahead
Yeah.
that we forget to, like, enjoy where we are right now.
And, like, appreciate all the little things along the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think, the big takeaway here is that goal setting, it's not just about achieving those specific outcomes.
Yeah.
It's really about, like, using goals as a tool to grow and, figure out who we are.
Become the best version of ourselves.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And create a life that, like, feels good and aligned with our values.
Totally. Yeah. And this guide, it emphasizes that, like, it's not a one-time thing.
Right, it's an
Not
ongoing.
a process. Yeah.
We're always evolving.
Mhm.
Our goals are going to evolve too.
So it's not about being like, this is my goal and I'm sticking to it no matter what.
Right.
It's about being willing to, like, reevaluate, make adjustments, maybe even let go of some goals.
Yeah, if they're not serving you anymore.
I mean, it don't make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's about being adaptable.
And kind of like in control.
You're in the driver's seat of your life.
Love that. This whole deep dive has been so, like, eye-opening.
I'm glad.
It's like a reminder that we really do have the power to shape our own lives.
We do.
Yeah.
We're not just like along to the ride.
Exactly. We get to choose
We
destination.
You make the map.
And we have, like, all these tools and resources to
Wow.
help us get there.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up this episode,
Like,
I want to leave you with a question.
right.
What's one goal that you're ready to commit to, like, right now?
Ooh, good question.
It could be big, it could be small, it could be personal, it could be professional, whatever.
Whatever feels right.
But write it down, make it smart, and start taking action.
Take that first step.
Exactly, because that's how it all begins, right?
That head starts.
One step at a time.
Love it.
And remember, like, the journey itself is part of the reward, so enjoy it.
Celebrate the wins.
Yes.
Learn from the, the bumps in the road.
The setbacks, yeah.
Exactly.
And never stop growing.
Keep learning. Keep going.
This has been another episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving towards the best version of yourself.